Facebook's on. YouTube's on. A quick intro, then bring our new friend on. Yes, somebody said it's an early start today. This is an early start. It's very early for me, 9 o'clock in the morning. But that's all right. We got a beautiful beloved sister we're going to meet today. It's going to be coming on in just a second, as soon as I get these technical issues worked out. All right. So, yeah, we are starting early today. We're going to have, I believe, 4 shows today. So we got to keep things going. I guess I should have put some makeup on and did my hair before I got here. I just want to say hello to Australia. It's late in the evening, Australia. Our guest is out of Perth. Maybe we'll start doing some of these shows a little bit earlier. We've got Leilani Matthews on. She's got an incredible story. I'm going to let her tell us about it rather than read her bio. You can read her bio in the announcement. A really cool chick. And let's see what else. Thank you for the continued love and support contributions to keep us going every single day. Every day we wake up and we have enough to keep going. And that's 5D. You know, you don't have any security, you don't have anything in front of you, but you know, every day if you get up and go to work and get your stuff done, that the universe is going to reciprocate. If these shows resonate, please share so we can stay above these algorithms. We're getting hammered. The more shows we do, the more they suppress us. But this new platform that we're using is pretty good. We're broadcasting on 5 platforms at the same time. The only one that I can see comments on is the Facebook broadcast on my page. I can't see the other ones on YouTube or the other Facebook pages. I can't see in Zoom as well. All right, let's get this beloved sister up here and get to know her a little bit, see what's happening in her end of the world. And I'll try to wake up. Let's see, hang on now. Just turn your video on, boom, and unmute your mic. You should see a little box. You should see a little box that comes up and says, Todd's asking you to turn on your video. It'll work. Just give it a second. Anytime we have technical difficulties, you know, we always have great shows. Can you hear me? Let's see what this is here. Yeah, you can get me on YouTube. You can get us on YouTube. Hey, Giselle, what's going on? Giselle Coy. Oh, there you are. All right. Okay, what's going on with this? Unmute. Wait a minute. We're good. Just hang on. It's going to work. 1 second. We're going to get there. There's one thing we're missing now, and that is unmute the video. Can you unmute the video on your side? Oh, there you go. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yay! We have connected.
Hello. Namaste.
Hello, how are you doing?
Namaste,
How are you?
beloved.
Yeah, how you doing in Perth, Australia? What's
Crazy.
going on in that end of the world on the front line of the apocalypse, the great unveiling?
The Great Awakening is here.
That's right.
It's surreal to think that for 5 years I've been writing about it. And I had hoped that I would be here to welcome it in. And here it is. It is with us.
We waited
Divine
this, right? We waited this long.
I know.
Like, why?
I didn't think.
Right?
I was thinking that I've had a few, I would say, attacks for speaking out. The disclosure part of my pages.
Yeah.
So we'll stick to the spiritual today and not tick any of the algorithm boxes that will.
They're already triggered. This is Soulology. But you know,
Won't say the Illuminati.
You know, speaking of attacks, and you know this show's just a conversation. We don't really do it. You're welcome to ask questions. Just a conversation. Like if it's me and you alone, we just have a bunch of brothers and sisters watching us. But you know, I was thinking about this last night. Morgan and I were talking, and I don't know how it came up, but I said I remember getting attacked energetically. I'm talking energetically, and I can remember many times going through real traumatic, real intense, painful, crazy, wild, dimensional experiences though. And we were talking and I was like, but I know that was all me, you know. I mean, as this thing goes on more and more, we realize we are every single thing there is. And there's no other way to get, there's no other place we're going than to complete unity consciousness. And that means with anything and everything outside ourselves. I don't know. It's getting crazy. This quantum pace is really.
We are in a quantum phase of love in, love out. And if we can stay on that energy, that love energy, which will make us more benevolent beings, we will ascend.
Yeah.
And that is what we're feeling now, is it's sort of like the bends that we have, like a diver would get. We're coming up so quickly when we weren't anticipating it to be this quick. Even the word corona used in this virus is unbelievable to me, because a lot of my visions, my earlier visions, visiting different dimensions, the sun was an integral part of it. It was what I had seen was a sun flare. And instead we get this virus gone viral that has caused everyone to just have, everyone has to stop and check, and their sleep are becoming more benevolent.
Yeah.
I just find it quite amazing. I have a neighborhood that has been quite hostile, even though I live near the water, and they've been very asleep, and they consider me to be weird, I suppose.
Well, welcome to your family over here. Well, and of course, I'm sure you've been getting the same treatment for the last few thousand years.
I was 3 years old when I was remembering previous lives. So I was born awake. When I mean, for people to understand this, I was born, I won't give the year because my DNA does not identify with age. Like, I don't identify with time as a structure. I live beyond that. And I think that is the fifth, that we are co-creative. But at that young age, we had no television. It's not something I could have picked up. It was like real memories in real time.
Yeah.
So I know that I have been here before, and I have had detailed visions of my previous lives. My kids have grown up with mum talking about previous lives in detail. So I've got 4 children, and they are all awake. And so I have just had the fortune of sharing my life with these 4 incredible souls.
Wow.
Yeah, just been an amazing
The
adventure.
apples didn't fall far from the tree, right?
No, my daughter is an earth angel. Absolutely. I believe it is her first time here, like a starseed would be.
Yeah.
But earth angels are more. She's into resonance. She's a singer-songwriter,
Yeah.
and yeah, so a lot of our growth, we are accessing talents of previous lives. We've been sliced, in our soul has been sliced into slithers, and we have to put that together and then try and bring the collective back together. And unfortunately, we have been interfered with in our ascension process, and it's still an ongoing thing. And I don't know if how you're finding it.
No, I get you. Where I'm finding it is to be clear and conscious in the moment. I'm not just saying, pretty talk or cliche, but to see it from the higher perspective, to see energy. There is no positive, negative. Well, there's a positive, negative, but not a good, evil. Nothing against me. I control my field. I'm seeing more and more people do it. It's coming fast. It's coming really fast. The extremes of the contrast of the illusion and the reality are becoming wider and wider, and they have these like microcosmic millisecond kind of impressions as they come in, and we're being given a choice. Like you said, you create your reality. If you don't recognize what the human aspect calls age or time or space or hey, I'm digging it. I think this is it. We've tried everything else.
Well, we are all energy and light, and the rest is illusion. And matter is really there to promote consciousness. Friction upon spirit creates a broader consciousness, and that allows us to change dimension. And that is what we're trying to do now. We've had the shift had come upon us, and we have enough of us that have become very, very spiritual. That is a pandemic. The spiritual awakening of a lot of people. And it's been a very difficult journey for many. It is like Picasso's Scream,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting now. You said at the top of the show, I mean, it's a great time to be here. It's an honor to be here, but yeah, Picasso's painting, The Scream, comes back many, many times. And I know you're like most of us, you asked to get the hell out of here more than once.
Yes.
Like, and you ask the question, hey, what the F is going on here? You know,
Mm.
you
Oh,
can relate to
I,
that, I'm sure.
I have had such an incredible journey. As you know, my story. I was a professional model. I was 17
17 years old too, right?
years of age, and whoa, I was sitting waiting for a showing, and I was looking in a mirror, and I lost vision, like physical vision of myself. It's like I could see through myself, and something, it was like being struck by divine energy. It
Yeah,
was it was the most beautiful and scary
yeah,
sensation. It was like I felt like I was being pulled back through time to the beginning, and then fast forwarded again. And there's this 17-year-old girl going, what do I do with this? What has driven me now? What drives me now? And divine timing and synchronicity being what it is, I uh, I sought out a spiritualist church. I,
mm,
I have no idea how I got there. It was in suburbs that I'd never encountered. Um, but it was to see the aura being photographed. There was a gentleman there that was a Hindu master, and like a guru, and he took me under his wing because we were in a group doing visualization, and I was astral traveling.
oh,
And that's, I didn't know that that was not what you were supposed to do. So he took me and trained me, um, because of the dangers of doing that. When you don't quite know what you're doing, it is really an art. Nowadays, with the new energy and the new talents and the new spirits that have come into the planet to assist us, um, it is a very easy thing, and it becomes a more natural thing.
yeah.
But in at that time, it was yes, just some natural abilities that I had that I had to suppress.
Yeah.
Uh, it was
That's your story sounds very similar to most of the people that come on here, particularly those that woke up or let's say reawoke years ago, like 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years. That's not a big group. Um, and they were suppressed and they seem to go through a couple of phases. Now, this happened to you at 17 years old, but then you had a really pivotal year
oh
later on where you lost your husband and several very close family members in the same year. And
yeah.
that that that's pretty extreme. That's pretty extreme. And you talk about what happened to you. Was that like the last big awakening that you that
Oh
you that you really got, the last big push, I should say?
yeah, absolutely. Um, Even though I had been trained in, like there was we had Buddhists in the 70s that were in Fremantle. Um, that first wave was we were the stricture of the structure was too strong for us to break out of it. So a lot of us went back into this, not a sleep, but like a stasis, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah,
And I was having family, and involved in all that. And when my husband committed suicide,
mm,
my little girl was only 3 months old.
Now, was that your youngest child, or was that?
My youngest child was only 3 months old.
Okay, so you had the 3 children plus you
Yeah.
plus you had this 3-month-old, and then okay.
Boys, and then my earth angel.
Yeah.
I believe she was sent to me to get me through that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it forced me to become a warrior of the light
Yeah.
rather than a passive follower. And yeah, I was having to fight for human rights from people that you would expect. A widow with children to be helped, to be assisted.
Yeah.
And it was not like that. It was like I was the weaker deer at the end of the herd. People would take it off, and it made me really question humanity and where we were going with this. And then I lost my father. He was murdered in an old people's home, and I was going through the coroner, trying to get that all sorted out, like to press charges. And then my husband's committed suicide. So poor old dad never got his justice. And then I lost my best friend in the world, which was my brother. And then we had my mother. And then my first husband, who was part of our family, yeah, committed suicide in New Zealand. He had gone home to New Zealand. So it just was boom, 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 and
Yeah,
talk
there's
about
a lot of the
friction on
people.
spirit.
Yeah, a lot of the people that have come on here have these success. There's it's not just a trauma. Now, some people would have like a really potentially dangerous illness, life-threatening cancer, stuff like that. They'll have a miraculous turnaround. But there's some people that come on here. This is one of the more extreme cases, where they have just trauma after trauma in a short period of time, almost like like a etherical, shock treatment. Did you? You said that your earth angel came at that time to help you go through it. Did you have a substantial expansion the further you got away from that from that fire?
Oh yeah, I had to. It was, when you say fire, it was like, though what is it that I was not trained in religion,
Yeah.
but I very much believe in the blood of Christ as the corrected perfect DNA, and that is why the blood of Christ is so important. I found faith
Yeah.
at that time, and that faith started to flow through me, divine energy.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to explain that feeling. And I think that this mass trauma that happens is to speed up the spiral of ascension.
Yeah.
We have it is a spiral where we have to go up and then it dips a bit. And that is why we feel all these wonderful feelings and we're really getting there, and then depression hits.
Yeah. You stub your toe. You come back and you're like, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
And you get this hindsight because you've become a more benevolent being yourself with this spiritual growth.
Yeah.
You have to look back at who you were and the journey and the decisions that you made to get there. And sometimes it is not a very kind, with kinder eyes, you can see the flaws, and that is very hard to accept in yourself.
Yeah.
And part of the whole process is learning to accept and let go of regret, to let go of trauma and pain, and you've got to face it. You've got to feel your way.
Do you think about this? Isn't it interesting? Like, because the energy of your story is just like mine, just like everyone here, basically. It's not it's not a big minority in the world, I don't think, but it has these elements, and it's like you said about finding that above the human aspects definition, finding that faith. That faith is like motion. It's like energy moving, and it takes this faith quake, this extreme polarity, this extreme contrast in a personal level, some of them very intense like yours. And it's crazy because there's like a direct relationship between the more severe it gets, the deeper your faith gets. And then you kind of start breaking through, even with the pain and the suffering, the whole metamorphosis takes place. But isn't that interesting that if you look at the energetics now of the collective, that's kind of what's happening, because you said more people are finding or awakening. And at the same time, on the other side of the spectrum, there's this increasing contrast. It's very similar to the energy of your story, isn't it?
Well, the energy of my story. How do we sum that?
Yeah. The phoenix
My
rising.
story is still unfolding. So I live on the 5th. I co-create daily, as does my daughter, to the point where you want something, you create. It's almost like you create it. It is there.
Yeah.
Like you manifest it on a mental plane, and it manifests into the material world. And it is being a god. We are the gods we've been waiting for.
That's right.
We are a human monad to a universe within.
Yeah.
And we have disconnected from that. And that is why we have disconnected from our higher self. We have to be a benevolent God to our DNA, but we have to direct it. It has been dormant, like we have, without the love of God.
Which is us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, our consciousness, there is a greater monad, which is what I would call source, and that is where I get my inspiration. I also had a broken neck, which was a broken neck.
You had a broken neck.
Yeah,
wow.
I was thrown into a swimming pool. So there were challenges there too, to someone that, even though I had been through this spiritual growth and spiritual evolution, the physical, the vehicle, the ego of the vehicle being of utmost importance, I had not disconnected that ego of how I appear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something that was new to me. To be in traction for many months and not to be able to groom and care and primp and preen and consume and be tied to matter. So it was very liberating.
Yeah.
Yeah, extremely liberating. So those tendrils disconnected for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've seen when my grandmothers were in an elderly, home for old folks. And I remember going to the facilities to visit with them, and some of the looks on the faces of these people, they were in another dimension. they were in bliss and in joy. They weren't crazy or senile or demented. You know, they were actually somewhere else. And I think it has to do with the same type of thing you're talking about, because at that point they weren't looking at their body. They were
beyond,
engaged in the higher intelligence.
yeah, beyond the vehicle.
Yeah.
And I became a vessel for an energy that was downloading at such a rapid pace, and the thirst for knowledge became like an unquenchable thirst.
Yeah.
So I spent many years at university trying to fit into social and political theory and communications, and then I started to do philosophy, and I'm not finding the answers. The answers aren't there. The answers are in our own records, in our own memory.
Yeah.
We just have to remember who we are, and that is bliss.
Yeah.
That is grace. That is the grace of God.
Have you? Everybody's different, and there's no right answer. You know, it's just a curiosity. But with the depth of your connection and the longevity of it, were there particular faces of the universe, like divine essences or galactics, that have come in to instruct or guide you or whatever?
Yeah.
And 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 if so, if you're comfortable with it, what faces were they, and what role did they play?
Um, I'm not sure of what you're asking here, but the interactions I have had have been on the astral plane,
Mhm.
but I have had lucid in interaction with beings that are like angels, I suppose we would call them,
Yeah.
or galactics, and they are actually working on me, uh, reconnecting circuitry, or I'm not quite understanding what is going on at that time, but I know they're there. I have had so many visions of uh, people, like seeing through a timeline to another dimension. I know that sounds sort of stretching it a bit, but we have
No, I don't. I think
two
I think
timelines
yeah,
interacting.
you're talking to the right crowd here. So don't feel, don't feel that you're no longer the odd one out. Let's put it that way.
Well,
You're,
this is what I see and I receive, that we have two timelines, and they are weaving like the DNA code. That is how I see them. And translating into words the things I see, it's like being hit over the head with a hexagon, and then trying to translate it. It's concepts and ideas. And
no, I like that image though. If you take the image that you said, which I guess could be that medical image as well, of the staff with the two snakes, right? But you're saying like a DNA strand. You said
yeah,
there's
I
two
see.
timelines. Yeah, two timelines. So
Yeah,
it's almost like, and they're spiraling. It's
yeah.
almost
Well,
like
actually, how I receive it, and this is how I receive my information too, when I meditate, is the energy is actually in the DNA strand, interwoven but not touching. And I am finding that the third, and this is what I'm being told, is the third dimension and the fifth are intricately interwoven,
mhm.
and the outcome of one is dependent on the other.
Yeah.
So with ascension, as light workers and as ascended beings, and more benevolent beings, because we have a density change happening too.
Yeah.
So density and dimensions are slightly different. Um, we have great responsibility and we're getting accelerated emotions because the heart chakra is opening to receive the love from source. And when I say it's quantum, is we are sending it out as well. So we have just huge amounts of compassion and empathy and kindness and love, and it begets joy. And that is a mantra that I share with my beloved friends, and that was the path to ascension. And that was the message that I was given and what I have written for 5 years. And I would sit in a corner with my little old phone. Before that, it was pen and paper.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so I'd be on my little phone, my hands cramping, and not realizing it had gone from daylight to nighttime. So intense was the information.
Yeah.
And so voluminous, the information of what others call the ascension codes.
Yeah.
Mine were direct instructions on what we were supposed to do.
Now,
and that was to, sorry.
no, I'm sorry. I was just going to say what you were to do, well, guided to do. Well, now, are you talking about you individually, the collective, or both?
The collective has to reconnect. We're like a fragmented soul.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something that it is, if we look at consciousness as an organ, and it is connected just like air. It is there, it is invisible, but it is all connected. It's not just one little bit of air. It is like an organ. And we are within that, but unaware. And it is that awareness which is the awakening.
Yeah, exactly.
To become aware that you are part of a greater whole.
Yeah.
And that is why love, compassion, empathy, kindness, the dimensions have shifted to a portrait that is very, very different to the one that we had, say, 10 years ago, where we saw wars and cruelty. They are dropping out of our consciousness.
Yeah.
And if you try to talk to the young people and say, come to war, come on, we're going to have a war. My brother used to have this thing, because he was a real hippie and just a beautiful spirit. I was very gifted there. This is my best friend died. We've shared lives together before, as had my father. Sorry, I digress there. And I've lost my train of thought, which I do
That's
often.
all right. Well, you were talking about how the young kids, they don't resonate with,
They would go, no, this does not exist. They've heard of it historically, but they will not engage anymore, because they have evolved up that spiral of ascension. And that consciousness, the portrait that we look through, has broadened, but it's also lifted us above things that are really heavy, material, negative things. And that is what a light being is.
Yeah.
That is what we are. The collective consciousness is as us being part of the human monad.
Yeah.
And understanding that. See, a lot of people are questioning faith, and it's something that we need more than ever. Right at this time in history, we need to have faith. And this is where the two timelines are interwoven. The third dimension is tearing it down. We talk about disclosure. I've got a political page as well, and that's why I'm like a warrior of the light. And the pedophilia in the church and things like this that
Mm-hmm.
are making people flee from something that they really need.
Yeah.
And we know the structure was wrong, but the love of God is not. It is like we are thirsty. We are dehydrated
Yeah.
as humanity. Like crimes against humanity have really shone in the karmic mirror and has kept the collective down.
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting too, because, I used to read a whole lot for about 20 years, and it was in the same type of search you talked about earlier. And there's always this surviving common thread that runs through all of the sacred text, all the religions, no matter how distorted, or commercial they became. But it's yeah, I think it's like you said earlier, it's like the level, the heat's being turned up on the extreme of what the human might say is dark, or whatever the case is, and
I
it's
would
getting
call
to, yeah, and then the opposite is being is in a direct parallel, and at some point, you know uh it's going to break. Maybe that's how you break through into the higher dimension or whatever. But what interests me more, because I'm like you, I've studied disclosure for years and years, and but what interests me more is not it all coming out to be proven, because I know, and I think the whole world knows it's true. Just a
yeah.
matter of whether you want to, bring it into your consciousness. But I think what's more intriguing is, how are we going to respond? How are we going to respond when the truth comes out? Will there be vigilantes, or will there be a higher level of compassion? And when you talked about that, that's what a light worker is. I mean, that's what a light worker is. If we're going to anchor in our multidimensional higher wisdom, higher love, more open energy field, whatever you want to call it, we're here to anchor that. And
Yeah.
and to me, that's an extraordinary feat. Uh, Even though I don't have probably as much recall as you do of past memories and such, but I know this is a rare occasion, and I think we're
Yeah.
kicking ass. That's just my opinion.
It is, the messages I'm getting is like everyone matters or no one matters.
Yeah,
So we cannot just ascend and leave the asleep or the struggling to try and make ascension when it's something they can't comprehend.
yeah,
That they have no ideas. So we are obligated by that responsibility that we have got as enlightened beings
yeah,
to assist. And basically, I believe that that is why I'm here.
yeah,
I have been given this mission. I didn't expect it or ask for it. I was, yeah, young model, like living the dream. And realizing that that was just a vacant
yeah,
energy drain that was like it was like blindfolds coming off.
yeah. Yeah, the
I
plastic
really,
comes off. The plastic comes off your face first, and then you're like, "Wait a minute! I worked to get to this point, and now I'm in some kind of void." Well,
yeah.
that's the first rabbit hole, right? When you start to look at things, and which is
What
again,
I've done
uh,
is meaningless. What I've done with my life is meaningless, and all my priorities have been wrong.
yeah,
And that is why I say it's very hard to look back now we have kinder eyes
yeah,
and see the faults and
yeah,
accept those, to learn self-love.
hmm,
And that is a challenge every day. Where, I mean, everyone has a piece of the puzzle.
hmm,
I don't believe any of us have, because of the collective consciousness, we all have a piece of the answer. So if someone comes and says, "Oh, I know everything. This happens on my page a lot. I know this. This is the answer." And there are many perspectives to look at
Yeah.
this, and we have to be open. And it's very hard to listen.
Yeah.
That's something new.
I think it's getting easier. And I particularly like those people that come in the door and say, "I don't know shit." I don't know what's happening.
I feel like
Every time I think I know something, there's more downloads coming in, more code, more memories. And it's like, yeah.
tell you what helps me is affirmations.
Yeah.
Because I start to feel that I'll be listening to somebody else's channel. I don't like saying channeling because
True.
in my training, it is a dangerous thing to do. You don't know what you're channeling. Downloading is a very more conscious thing. Even though I might write something and it could be rather lengthy and in detail, I sort of don't recognize it. But the affirmation that comes with it, when someone else is saying exactly the same words, and I think, whoa, am I creating this dialogue? Like, have I just created the narrative of my life here? And it's accepting that there is a frequency that we are all accessing.
Yeah.
And
True.
some would call it the aesthetic records.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Well,
It's mind blowing for me every day.
well,
think-
and it's blasting in so fast and faster every day, more information every day at a faster pace. And it's almost like it's becoming so, I don't want to say busy, but it's becoming so dominant that all the stories, all the memories, all the old channelings and downloads and activations and all that stuff is like gone. And it's like putting us in this not just present moment, being present in the present moment. It's like a quantum meta presence, where everything's parallel, including skills, abilities, memories, uh, awareness, understanding, functioning. you know I mean, it's just like, what? And feels good.
it's sort of a bit like puberty.
Yeah,
Had to
that's what
grow
I'm
up
saying. That's why my
quick.
hormones have been acting up lately. Morgan's been running from me for about a week.
Whoa, that's sorry, Morgan. Um,
No, but energetically, you're right. It's like a puberty. Even with the
it is,
pimples breaking out on your face and everything, right?
yeah. It's grow up quick.
Yeah,
Come on, you got to do it quick.
yeah,
It's so demanding. It is mind blowing every single day that I have seen these things, like this preparation for this virus. I have seen,
yeah,
and I have written about, and I have probably about 4 years ago, I have posts of saying you need to stock up and prepare and have 2 weeks of this and like a bit of a prepper.
yeah,
And my children have just grown up with crazy mum in that
yeah,
area. Like I gave up materialism and went back to how I grew up, I guess, where everything that I do have has value.
yeah.
Whereas we were conditioned and programmed that nothing had value. Everything was disposable, including fellow humans.
Yeah. Well, energy's energy. Patterns are patterns, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're I love what you said at the beginning of the show about the the God, goddess of the universe. This is my universe, as within, without. And if I'm conscious or not, treating myself less, less lovingly or whatever, it's going to have a pattern throughout my whole universe. It's going to it's going to affect how I approach my work or my relationships, or I mean, I like that too, what you said about there's almost like a monad of 8 billion, souls. And and we're pulling in all the aspects that got shattered, and we are those aspects of this one body, which is one cell in another body of a oversoul monad. I mean, it's so crazy, because you think, oh my God, you've seen those pictures where they'll show like, here's Earth, don't get excited, and it's a little dot on this big universe. But you look at the complexity and expansiveness of infinity, even what we can sense with our five senses, and then you look at the human hybrid soul, one person, right? And there's no way you could have that kind of influence on the universe, but we do. And I think that's what we're getting at. Like you just said, where you go, am I creating this? Yeah, you're creating that.
This is my narrative. Everyone has to understand that they are the hero of their own story.
Right.
And once they understand that, then they step up, and they are no longer lost. They have purpose, and they start to get into the pattern of divine purpose. And what happened with me when I went into stasis for some time after the broken neck, and then awoke 5 years ago, I was on 3 very dangerous addictive drugs for pain and nerve pain and things like that, and went through this energetic healing. Where I got up, I became drug-free, I gave up drinking, I've been abstinent for 11 years. So I've been like, this has been my calling. And became vegan, just all at once. It happened. It's like I had to be pure in my vehicle and pure in my purpose. That is a challenge, to be pure of purpose. But it has been an amazing transformation for me. And my universe within is able to communicate and vibrate. People say about raised vibration and resonance, but without understanding what that actually entails on a physical level. And we have to understand that every cell is conscious. Every cell has its own energetic field. Every cell is as individual as a fingerprint. Just as we, So if we don't accept and acknowledge that and understand what the elders meant by our body is our temple, we cannot connect with the Godhead within. And it sits at the heart chakra. And that is the connection to the higher self. And the higher self is where this energy is coming from. This information is coming from. It's given us back the rudder in our lives.
Well, the other thing too, the interesting thing is everything carries energy. Everything we do, everything we ingest, everything we breathe, everything we think, everything we say, everything we do. And but to me, one of the things that's really hit home in the last year or so is the importance of the thoughts I receive, but more importantly, what I carry forward. Like, I'm not saying to go out and have a, a high protein meat diet or, whatever. And, and if you control your thoughts, you're going to be fine. I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is the most powerful thing I can do is take in what comes in, discern, and what I carry forward, because that energy, like what I think of myself, how I treat myself, what I do for myself, uh, consideration for myself in every situation that pops up. Am I overcompensating and over giving at the cost of depleting my own energy? I mean, this is energy. This is energy with conscious thought and consciousness. The physical stuff will be the easy part,
Yeah, it's endless.
Yeah.
If we can work through the heart chakra, love is what gives us bliss. So by loving is healing the world. And with all the meat eaters out there, I am not criticizing that. I'm criticizing the industries and the cruelty that when I say the karmic mirror, that is holding us down.
Yes.
We have to work through that karma. We're creating karma. And the fifth dimension doesn't have karma.
That's right.
Karma is no longer there. So whilst we're ingesting tortured meat, so it's not just, ingesting meat, it's the tortured meat that we are putting that into our bodies.
Well, if you think about it, we're just basically a copy, a physical representation of an energetic copy of what has actually been happening to the human cattle of this world. It's like we are actually duplicating what's been happening to us. And this is the great part to me. Like, people like you coming to this point and going, hey, we don't have to participate in this. Not only do we don't have to participate in this, we can actually turn this thing around because we're transformers,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. We're taking back control of humanity, and we are liberating humanity, and that is what our purpose is.
Right on.
All those awake are freeing humanity, that it was disconnected and interfered with and was unable to receive instruction from a greater universe. It is like cells that have been cut off from the brain.
Yeah, that's right. We're no longer children of the lesser gods. The somewhere along the line, however it happened, in this perfect design that I know we all had a hand in, but somewhere along the line, we became numb. We began numbing ourselves. And so it gets duplicated. It gets duplicated. It gets duplicated. It gets duplicated. And it's crazy because it's almost like a wave. And then the very crest at the top of the wave decides, no, we're gonna change the formation. We're gonna change direction from that micro level, like you're talking about with the cells. Well, each one of those cells is a soul, and each one of those souls is a universe. And then that, you know what I mean? We're aligning all timelines, all dimensions, all incarnations.
And that's where it comes into density. We are on upward spiral from the heaviness of matter. We are, I say, light beings. It is not just a consciousness that, an ego driven, like I call spiritual ego wars.
Yeah.
Not driven like that, although there is a lot of people caught up in that.
Yeah. Well,
which is
everyone's got to shake the cobwebs off, and it's
well, fracturing an ego is agony
yeah,
because what is underneath is so very tender.
yeah,
It's like sunburn. You
yeah,
don't want to touch.
yeah.
Like
Imagine opening your skull and laying your brain out under the sun. You know what I
that's what
mean?
it,
I
yeah,
know.
it feels like. It is very, very painful.
So I'm just curious. There's no right or wrong answer. I'm just curious because of your experience. But how do you see the ego? There's kind of two schools of thought. That's not me. It doesn't exist. It's an implant. And then there's a lot of people. Well, I say there's people that are saying, I love my ego. I love my shadow now. I'm in a different place. I mean, we're all in this together. What's your take on that?
Well, I think that if you are authentic, that an ego is inescapable and is very precious.
Yeah.
But it's the inauthentic ego
Yeah.
that is working from a place that is not pure, that is the key. And it is implants and it is programming and it is seduction of matter.
Yeah.
And we have
Manipulation.
to realize that matter does not matter.
Yeah.
It is irrelevant, and accumulating wealth is an egoic
Yeah.
driven thing. Oh, I'm very successful now. Look at me.
Yeah.
I'm
Look at my
got
new
all
dress.
this.
Look
Yeah,
at
but
my new
I've
hat.
got,
Look at my new hat. I mean, it's the patterns are they're so deeply embedded.
yeah,
And like you said, it never ends. And the thing you say about the physical matter, I agree.
it is.
But I think the what? It's like our greatest weakness, but our greatest strength. The fact that we actually had the balls to come down here and get into this dense atmosphere, into this heavy physical experience, and then say, and at some point plan. I don't believe in predestination, but certainly pre-planning from a higher level. We say, and then we're going to try to wake up and convert everything and turn this body into a light body. And by God, it's happening.
With no memory.
Yeah.
Which is the
Starting with
cruelest.
nothing. Starting with
Yeah,
nothing. Yeah.
no, it's just, I remember vividly, and this can be taken two ways, but it was a wings and a signing of contract.
Yeah.
Now, whether you take that from like an angel or you take it as I am holy, then we are not going to get past this. Well, we are going to get past that because we're being forced. It's like a wave.
Oh yeah. This
We're,
is this shift.
we're
Yeah, it's going down.
yeah,
There's
but
no
it is very brave
hmm,
of every individual that realizes that, because it is takes you to the edge of madness.
yeah. Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does.
Makes you
And you
blood
know,
rising.
think about the depth of us to be able to decipher the rules of a game that you're being conditioned from the very moment you're born, and your ass gets slapped, and every time you try to do something as a kid you're told no, and that's bad, and you know what I mean, and to be able to figure it out and go, wait a minute, we're conceding to all of this.
Yeah.
And the other thing about what's happening that I think is, I mean, like, so mind blown, we have no idea what's going to happen, is the fact that it's quantum now. And regardless of how many thousands of years of programming and how many incarnations we had and how many soul traps we went into, that in the blink of an eye, we are so powerful, we can not only turn the tide, but bring like a heaven to earth by reality. Or, I mean, we can flip thousands and thousands and thousands of years of manipulation, distortion on its head,
Yeah.
and love the victimizers.
Yeah.
I mean, this is,
That is the hardest. That is the hardest
yeah,
because I feel things that I know are like anger and
absolutely.
hatred, and I know that they're affecting my vibration and resonance, and I'm not harmonic in harmonic. It puts you off kilter and off key. So you have to find a way to forgive.
Yeah.
And it's very, very hard because the crimes against humanity are huge.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here. That is why we're here. And to talk about it takes courage.
Sure it does.
To stand in the dark
That's right.
and be light.
And look at the Me Too thing that happened a couple years ago. I mean, that's why we say on this network what I've learned, and even before we became videos and all that, it was writing like you've done, and watching people testify. It's just their truth. And what truth is more powerful and more potent than the own truth that you've come to realize in your own experience? We think maybe people don't understand, but people understand the truth frequency because it gives you chills. And
Yeah.
I believe it's a huge catalyst of remembrance of the soul, because we look at somebody and we go, wow, they had all that happen to him, 17 years old, or just all these different stories of these incredible human beings that this unconquerable will to continue to elevate in the pits of hell. That's soul.
Yeah. My motivation, the I answered the call, was like well, I'm into resonance, so
Yeah.
that's what it was like. It was like hearing a bell, like
Yeah.
it's time,
Yeah.
wake up and help. And I turned my page from selfies, because it's just a page,
Yeah.
it's not a group, to nearly 3,000 people. And at the beginning, and I still am driven by love,
Yeah.
is to try and help others through this journey. And I have many that, you can't talk to that many. There are too many, but I cannot, nor can I turn them away.
Mm.
So it is an obligation. We have the weight of this world on our shoulders, the weight of humanity. And when one of us falls, then someone else has to come in and take the weight. And you were saying about courage to stand up and to speak your truth. It just rang true to me, because I used to say to people when, like, I would get a lot of, there's trolls everywhere.
Yeah.
Deliberate satanic trolls pushing their agenda to try and be disruptive and to bring down everyone's vibration. And I would be under constant attack for things I'd say. And my answer would always be, I can only speak the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how I feel and how I felt. There was I think it was a movie by Jim Carrey, or the one that awoke very, very suddenly, and he could only tell the truth.
Oh, liar, liar.
Yes,
The little
yes.
kid, makes a birthday wish and says, I wish my dad would never lie again. It's a great
And
movie.
that is how it feels.
Yeah.
And a lot
Yeah.
of people can't turn them back. You are now in the light. There is nowhere else to hide this war, but we have to realize we are still in it if we are going to save the rest of humanity. We're not just going to fly off. Some people just assume we're just going to leave our vehicles and ascend, what is happening is I call Gaia Sophia. I believe very much in the Gnostic teachings
Yeah.
of the conscious being that is Mother Earth.
Yeah.
That she is rebirthing. That
Yes.
is the new Earth.
Yeah.
And virtually this virus is the event that has caused this massive awakening, because there's no escape. You have to sit still.
Well, I have a feeling it's just one piece of it. I have a feeling it's, you know
They've
what I
got a
mean?
lot of weapons.
Right? I mean, people talked about this, that we're going to have this huge flash. You know, we're trying to conceptualize uh, something that's not 3D in 3D terms. And it's like, man, that ain't going to happen. You might as well let go or be dragged, you know, because
Yeah.
it's like a big cosmic jigsaw puzzle. And, you know, I think another thing that's happening for everybody is we are loosening up a little bit. People are starting to lighten up a little bit, laugh, because the humor, the laughter carries so much wisdom. And
Laughter is the biggest vibration there is.
yeah, and then just to,
Cells
I
all get
think
excited.
yeah, it's like that relaxation that comes with it's surrender, but it's willing, but it's a willing surrender. There's a difference, right? When you willingly surrender, you're like, okay, you know, I'm not going to be your prisoner. You know, it's not that type of surrender. You know, it's more of like it's a trust. It's an ultimate trust.
Which is
So
faith.
in
Faith
case,
is
absolutely, we ran a little over. I'm sorry. So okay, I don't know if you exactly what kind of work. I know you have a lot of people that are following your page and you work with them because you talked about that. But be sure, if you would, have your Earth Angel or you put your links in the comments. Now, this is live on my Facebook page, the Soulology pages, but also on YouTube, because people might want to reach out to you if that resonates with you, and if it doesn't, you know, that's your decision. But I just wanted to let you know that.
that is my mission. That is why I have manifested this conversation with you.
Yeah.
To try and reach more people.
Right on. And
Yeah.
I think another, you talked about your relationship a little bit, your connection with your Earth Angel daughter was very
She's
obviously very special, pivotal, incredible soul in your life. I think that would be a great collaboration to sit down and talk to the two of you and talk about how you guys manifest and
did
co-create.
think of that. Next time, if you ask me back, I did say to Leia that I would like to introduce her, because she is completely awake,
Yes.
knows what is going on, but she is unhindered by the program.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. She does not. She's 20 years of age, born on the 9th of 99.
9th of born on what?
Born the 9th of the 9th, 1999.
September 9, 1999. Wow.
Yeah, so even that was sort of something
That's
that
completion. Nine's completion, right?
yeah.
I'm a 9.
So she chose from a very young age, well, even when she was a baby, she didn't say words like mama, or she was having conversations. She was like actually a baby having dialogue with all intonations and up and down and things like that. If I could have understood what she was saying, that would have been magic. But she has chosen to not drink, not swear. She will not use a swear word since she was little.
I'll have to watch my behavior around her.
But that's just her choice. I mean,
Oh,
obviously,
I know. I totally get what you're saying. No, I'm so we've been chasing young people to get them on this show, and everything spontaneously. But I think, like what you talked about when you were talking about your relationship with her, the effectiveness and the lifestyle of co-creation, collaboration with another soul on a similar or same frequency. And I could feel the power of that. I could feel the code of that. So yeah, we'll reach out and tell her to get ready and don't be nervous, and we'll have a good time, and we'll set one up with the three
Yeah,
of
that'd be
us.
wonderful. She's absolutely divine.
I'm sure
Yeah.
she is. The apples don't fall far from the tree. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming in and honoring us with your presence and sharing space with us. And let's do it with you and your daughter and keep this thing going.
Yeah. Well, pleasure is mine and honor is mine. So namaste.
Namaste. Thank you. Peace out.
Mwah. I love you all.
Love
I love
you.
you all.
Bye bye.